Okay, so let's talk about the capital budget process. Within this, we're going to cover inventory of capital assets, needs analysis, cost analysis, and revenue sources. Really, we're going to look at two different approaches: the public and nonprofit sector and their approach, and the private or for profit sector as well. One of the first things we need to do is look at an inventory of our capital assets. This includes an inventory of all the things that we have, right? So we're talking about a facility, land, or equipment, and these big aspects of that. We need to have a description of them, the purchase price, any improvements we've made to them, especially with the facility or the land, right? The projected equipment replacement cost, the depreciated value, and the projected end of useful life. What's the lifespan of that equipment or facility? This allows the organization to know the status of all their capital assets and allows for projection of when we need to replace, repair or retire or get rid of equipment or facilities. Next, we're going to look at a needs analysis. And this is where we're going to focus on our future needs for our department or organization. It's an attempt to identify how the needs will be met in the future. So, what kind of capital investments do we require? And what are our capital investment options as we move forward? Then we want to kind of develop a strategic plan. This is going to include a few things. We're going to look at key elements of our needs assessment, a 3 to 5 year forward looking focus. So we want to know where we're going to be at or what our target is in 3 to 5 years. This is going to give us a good vision, purpose, and a goals and objectives for whatever our endeavors may be within those timeframes. Then we're going to look at multiple variables as individual assessments, and we'll talk about those more. So when we think about variables we're going to include in this, we want to look at demographics. So this is the who of our equation, right? Who are we serving? What do they look like? What kind of things do they need? We're going to look at any cultural changes, and this is going to be within our organization or our constituents. We're going to look at the local, regional, and national economy. How might those fluctuate in the next 3 to 5 years? We're going to look and see or consider if our community is going to grow and how. Then we're going to look at how technology may be retired or may, increase or decrease in certain areas. Then we need to think about things like disaster planning. What kind of things may affect that? Weather could be a big one. And then, there's a lot of other ones, but the last one I'd say absolutely needs to be included is a retirement or replacement schedule. How are we going to replace or retire certain aspects of our technology, our facilities, and so forth? After that, we'll need to look at a cost analysis. And this is basically a decision-making process. It's going to help us identify where to spend money. Where do we want to put the available funds we have? When there's a lot of demands on where we can put money, where's the best use of this money? Our inventory and needs analysis kind of set the stage for this, provide us a foundation by which to start making estimations and seeing where we need to incur debt or spend money. The cost analysis can also give us some key information and allow us to really identify what our priorities are. We got to weigh a lot of different variables to make these decisions. So let's look at some variables we need to consider when we're doing a cost analysis. First, let's talk about the relationship of the project to future needs. How is our project that we're considering, or whatever we're spending money on, going to meet needs now and into the future? What legal mandates do we need to make sure we're clear of or meet? What's the capital cost and the operational cost of the project or endeavor? So there's going to be an upfront cost to get it up and going, so to speak, and then an ongoing cost to continue to operate it. Are the costs and benefits in the same playing field? So what I mean here is, we may see a little bit of benefit from an endeavor, but is it worth the cost we're going to have? What about the political costs and the benefits? So some things may buy us a lot more political favor. Some things may cost us political favor. What are the external funding opportunities that may be available? Let's look at the impact on improved effective or efficiency of our organization or operation. So are we becoming more effective or more efficient? Are there benefits that may come out of it that aren't directly part of our operation or endeavor? What costs are relative to competing costs? So how are these things that we're spending money on or the costs that we're incurring going to affect things down the line? What's the financial impact on a specific stakeholder? So this is going to take a little bit more information. We're going to identify stakeholders and think about the impacts our operations or endeavors may have on them. And look at the relationship of the proposed asset or endeavor to the beneficiaries or stakeholders. Are they going to be a direct benefit, indirect benefit, and so on and so forth? I'm going to propose a 4-part approach to a cost analysis. Part 1 is going to be a turnkey cost of the project. So this is the actual cost to get the facility fully complete. So construction, utilities, furnishings, everything we need to do to start operations. Which leads us to the next one. We're going to estimate the annual operating cost. This is our operating budget. So it can be a rough estimate for now, but we want to really look at what all goes into the operations. So utilities, people, and more. So part 3 is going to be the biggest one, I believe. So we're going to look at this in a couple different ways. Part 3 would include, what's our estimated payback period if we're taking out a loan? So, and we'll talk a little bit more about funding and payback later, but how long will it take us to make revenue on the project or to see a benefit of it? What are the social benefits and how can we measure those so that we can prove that we are meeting an outcome? So let's look at some qualitative benefits as well. So how well does this project align with our vision and our mission of our organization or department? What's the long-range effectiveness of this project? What's the effect it might have on our organization image or ability to meet outcomes? How does this project influence our stakeholders? Are we in compliance with mandatory requirements? So with recreation, we have to think a lot about requirements related to the environment as well. And then we can look on to part 4. This is our project evaluation. And here we're going to do 2 different types of analysis. We want to look at the payback period of construction cost. So if we're taking out a loan for a certain amount of money, how long is it going to take to pay back that loan realistically? And then we'll want to look at annual internal rate of return. And this is a method to assess the opportunity costs. So we're judging whether or not it's a good investment. Again, we'll talk about that more in detail. Okay, so we're going to look at an example for internal rate of return. Let's say the projected cost is $1.6 million for our project. We also think that our projected life of our project is about 10 years. So this is pretty common. Then we're going to know that our 10-year loan interest rate is at 7%. So whatever we owe, we're going to pay a 7% interest on that loan. Then we're going to estimate our net revenue to be $200,000 per year. That's how much money we're going to bring in. So if we look at an internal rate of return as, say, 4%, and the cost of borrowing money is 7%, then we're probably not wise to make this investment, right? If the internal rate of return is lower than cost of borrowing, then most people would advise you not attempt or move forward with the project at that time. When we're paying for public projects, there's usually 2 common approaches to paying. There's the pay as you go and the pay as you use. And we're going to talk a lot more about paying and getting money for projects, capital projects, over the next couple of presentations. So that concludes our introduction to capital budget processes.